Imagine a group of really prominent management scientists taking these universally beloved leadership traits. Things like profound courage, compelling storytelling, and uh, deep humility.
Right.
And they just take all of that and throw it straight into the garbage.
It sounds almost sacrilegious, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean,
Right.
when you hear the phrase digital transformation, you probably picture, endless lines of code, massive server farms, and complex cloud architecture.
Yeah, the hardware.
Yeah,
Technical stuff.
exactly. But it turns out the secret to surviving the AI era requires a completely different psychological toolkit than we previously thought. So, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at something that really upends our traditional understanding of what it takes to lead in the 21st century.
It's a massive paradigm shift,
Okay.
honestly. We spend so much of our capital and, well, our energy just obsessing over the software.
Right.
And we completely neglect the human beings who actually have to build it, use it, and constantly adapt to it.
Which is exactly our mission today. We are exploring this rigorous new academic paper titled Building Digital Ready Leaders, which was recently published in the journal Digital 2025.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is. We are going to unpack their newly developed digital leadership scale, or the DLS, and we'll discover why being the smartest person in the room technologically is nowhere near enough to lead a team through digital
But
disruption.
nowhere near enough, yeah.
Our goal here is to equip you with the scientifically validated traits you actually need to become an effective digital leader. So, okay, let's unpack this. Why did researchers feel the need to build an entirely new leadership scale from scratch? I mean, haven't we been studying executive leadership for decades?
Well, yeah, we have. But those historical assessments focus really heavily on technical expertise
Well,
or classical management efficiency.
like balancing budgets.
Exactly. They measured how well a leader could optimize the supply chain or balance that quarterly budget or just enforce operational discipline. But what this paper argues is that digital transformation is actually, at its core, a people-centric process.
Right.
The technology itself is really just the enabler.
What if the vehicle, not the driver?
Precisely. The metrics we traditionally relied upon just completely missed the human-centric traits required to navigate, cultural resistance
Yeah.
and complex, rapid change.
Because people get scared when tech changes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Leading a digital transformation means dealing with systemic technological shifts, sure, but more importantly, it means managing strategic misalignment. And that very real fear among your employees. You need a highly specific toolkit to manage that intense level of uncertainty.
I know these researchers didn't just, sit around in a boardroom and brainstorm a list of nice-sounding words. I want to understand how they actually validated this scientifically, because reading it, it feels like this ruthless process of elimination.
It was incredibly rigorous. I
Yeah.
mean, they started by combing through previous literature and identifying 15 human dimensions of leadership.
Okay.
And they broke those down into 45 specific survey items. Then they went out and surveyed 202 managers who had substantial leadership experience.
And who are these managers? Just anybody.
No, to ensure the data was relevant, they targeted a tech-adjacent sample, so mostly managers from the US and Germany, and it was split almost evenly between the hardware and software sectors.
Okay, so they have this massive data set of 45 traits that we generally assume make a good leader. What happens next?
Well, this is where the statistical heavy lifting comes in. They applied a technique called principal component analysis.
Sounds intense.
It is. The goal was to see which of these 45 items actually held up under intense statistical scrutiny as distinct, measurable leadership behaviors.
And looking at the paper, the cuts they made were just brutal. They used this visual graph called a scree plot,
Right, the scree plot.
which essentially shows where the statistical relevance of a trait just drops off a cliff. And based on that math, they eliminated 24 items.
More than half the list was gone.
Gone. And like I mentioned at the top, they threw out classic traits. Courage, gone. Storytelling, eliminated. Humility, booted. I have to admit, it feels really strange to say that humility is disqualified from a human-centric leadership scale.
Yeah, I totally get that. It absolutely feels counterintuitive. But we have to look at the statistical mechanics behind the cuts.
Okay.
It's not that courage or humility are bad traits, obviously they aren't. But to build a valid mathematical scale, you need distinct, measurable behaviors. The researchers found that traits like courage were experiencing what statisticians call cross-loading.
Meaning the data was getting muddled.
Basically, yeah. Think of it like trying to measure the distinct taste of sugar in a cake that's already packed with vanilla, chocolate, and caramel.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. If you can't isolate the sugar on the participant's tongue, it's not an independent metric. In the survey, if respondents are conflating courage with risk-taking or positivity, then courage isn't functioning as an independent, measurable dimension.
So the math demands that each trait in the scale measures one unique thing cleanly and clearly.
Exactly. Cleanly and clearly.
That makes perfect sense. So after cutting away everything that was overlapping or just statistically fuzzy, only 7 core dimensions survived. They are the lean, statistically validated pillars of digital leadership.
The final 7.
Yeah. Let's get into what actually made the cut. The first cluster of traits centers entirely on a leader's internal framing. We were talking about the mindset trifecta: positive attitude, growth mindset, and a transparent agenda.
And we really should define these based on their specific mechanisms in the digital space. Let's look at positive attitude first. The paper is very careful to note this is not toxic positivity or blind cheerfulness.
Right, it's not walking around the office telling everyone everything is fine while, a cyber attack is actively melting down the servers.
Far from it. It's about organizational resilience. Disruptive tech introduces a lot of chaos, and a positive attitude functions as a psychological anchor for the team.
Okay.
It's the leader's ability to remain committed to strategic goals and purposefully project optimism. That deliberate projection stops the team from falling into organizational paralysis when the roadmap gets blurry.
Which leads directly into the second trait, growth mindset. We hear that term a lot, usually tied to Carol Dweck's psychological research about believing skills can be developed. But in this paper, it's specifically about how a leader processes failure, right?
Yes. Because in digital transformation, failure is an absolute certainty. You are implementing unproven systems. Things are
Like,
going to break.
it's inevitable.
Exactly. The mechanism of a growth mindset here is actually biological. When a massive server crashes or an expensive software rollout fails, the human brain registers that as a threat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it triggers a fight or flight response that completely halts innovation.
People go into self-preservation mode. I mean, they want to hide the mistakes so they don't get fired.
Right. And a leader with a growth mindset actively recodes that environment. By openly framing the failure as necessary data, they literally lower the team's cortisol levels.
That's fascinating.
They shift the room from a state of panic back into a state of problem solving. It's a critical mechanism for maintaining momentum.
Which brings us to the third part of the trifecta, the transparent agenda. But I am struggling a bit with this one. I mean, in a massive publicly traded company, you literally cannot share every strategic pivot with the entire staff before it happens.
No, of course not.
So how do the researchers define transparency without it crossing the line into corporate espionage or just reckless oversharing?
It's an important distinction. A transparent agenda isn't about leaking confidential boardroom minutes. It's about openly sharing the rationale behind the business strategy that directly impacts the employees. What's fascinating here is the causality the researchers identified. When you clearly quantify the benefits of your digital initiatives and explain the why to your team, it significantly reduces employee resistance to change.
And cultural resistance is empirically the #1 killer of digital initiatives.
Exactly. It's about mitigating panic.
It's like being the captain of a massive ship navigating through a zero-visibility fog bank. The crew is already on edge. As the captain, you need that positive attitude, the optimism to assure the crew you'll find clear water.
Right.
You need the growth mindset to quickly abandon a route and try a new one if you hit a reef. But crucially, you have to get on the loudspeaker and tell the crew exactly what your navigational strategy is, because if they don't know the why behind your sudden turns, their anxiety spikes and they'll mutiny in the dark. That's the transparent agenda.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the underlying mechanism, which is trust. When leaders are transparent, they use vulnerability as a tool to create an environment of trust.
Yeah.
The research points out that transparency is a form of accountability. Your team needs to see you actively owning the strategy, not just handing down mysterious directives from on high.
So for you listening right now, think about the last major chaotic project you managed. Did you hide the messy, complicated details from your team under the guise of, protecting them? Or did you share the strategic reality and the quantifiable benefits so everyone understood the actual reason behind the shifting deadlines?
It's a huge shift in perspective.
That choice is a massive differentiator in how your team performed.
It sets the entire foundation. But of course, you can have a perfect mindset and open communication and still fail if you don't know how to interact with the actual technology.
And the people building it.
Exactly.
Which bridges us perfectly to the next cluster of traits: navigating tech and talent. A transparent agenda and a growth mindset don't write code. The two dimensions that survive the statistical cut here are ethical use of AI and skills acquisition. Let's tackle the AI piece first, because that is dominating basically every business conversation today.
And for good reason. With the rapid deployment of large language models and machine learning, AI ethics has really shifted from a philosophical debate in academia to a core corporate competency.
Yeah, you have to have it.
The paper defines ethical use of AI as a leader's active responsibility to ensure that algorithmic decisions are transparent, explainable, and above all, fair.
The survey items for this were very aggressive. They measure whether a leader is actively putting processes in place to block human biases from creeping into the algorithms. But I want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Is it truly an executive leader's job to police an algorithm for bias? I mean, if I'm the VP of operations or the head of logistics, shouldn't the data scientists down in the engineering department be the ones putting the guardrails on the machine learning? I'm not the one writing the Python scripts.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, your pushback highlights exactly why this made the final cut. No, you aren't writing the Python scripts,
Yeah.
but you are setting the incentive structures. The reality is, engineering teams are overwhelmingly incentivized on speed and efficiency.
Right. They want to build the tool as fast as possible to meet the quarterly deadline.
Exactly. If leadership simply says, hey, build an AI to sort our hiring resumes faster, the engineers will optimize for speed. If the historical hiring data they train the model on happens to be biased against certain demographics, well, the AI will perfectly replicate and automate that bias at scale.
Wow. Yeah, that's a nightmare.
It is. So it's the digital leader's job to step in and say, we require efficiency, but we will not sacrifice fairness. And I am putting a governance board in place to audit this. If a leader doesn't mandate ethics from the top down, the engineers simply will not prioritize it.
That makes a lot of sense. You are the ethical guardrails for the incentive structure.
Precisely.
And that feeds naturally into the fifth dimension, skills acquisition, which is really about making sure you actually have the talent to build those tools responsibly.
But it goes much broader than just hiring someone who knows a specific programming language. The paper emphasizes that in a digital economy, technical skills must be deeply integrated with soft skills.
Like what?
We are talking about finding people who have socio-emotional intelligence, agility, and critical thinking.
And the researchers highlight a really practical reality here. The technological landscape is shifting so fast. I mean, an AI tool that was cutting edge 6 months ago is practically obsolete today.
Obviously.
So you cannot rely on traditional hiring to fill your talent gaps. You can't just post a listing on a job board and hope a magical unicorn appears who knows everything.
Which is why this trait encompasses ecosystem building. The study specifically notes that leaders must actively partner with local colleges and universities to build talent pipelines.
Right, get them early.
And equally important, they must influence the retraining of their existing staff.
Right.
If you aren't upskilling the loyal people you already have, your digital transformation is going to slam into a brick wall the very moment you face a novel technical roadblock.
So you've established this great internal mindset, you are championing ethical tech, and you are building a robust talent ecosystem. But what happens when the team actually sits down to build the product?
The execution phase.
Right. The strategy has to translate into daily execution, which brings us to our final cluster of dimensions: action and proof. The two traits that validate here are participative style and track record.
Let's start with participative style, which is fundamentally about collaborative decision-making. The survey items validating this trait really focused on leaders who roll up their sleeves and work directly with their development teams.
Getting in the trenches.
Exactly. It's about making dedicated time for employees who have questions, and crucially, taking the time to celebrate the small wins, not just the massive product launches.
So imagine a massive CRM software migration is going horribly wrong over a weekend. An ivory tower executive stays in their office, sending frantic, demanding emails, asking why the timeline is slipping. It just creates panic.
Total panic.
But a leader with a participative style actually gets in the room or on the Zoom call with the developers. They aren't coding, but they are triaging the roadblocks, redirecting resources, and really sharing the burden of the crisis.
And that shared burden builds a highly resilient organization. When information is disseminated equally and everyone feels their contribution actually matters, the team can pivot much faster when disruptions occur.
But then we hit the final dimension, which is track record. And here's where it gets really interesting. Track record is described in the paper as the transactional side of trust. It means demonstrating actual measurable outcomes.
Things like significantly reducing cycle time or cutting operational costs or measurably improving the customer experience through digital tools.
Which raises an important question. Why is past performance considered a current active leadership trait?
It's a fair question. The researchers argue that credibility is the literal foundation of trust-based leadership. Employees are being asked to follow you into the terrifying, totally unknown territory of a major digital overhaul.
Right.
They will only take that risk if you have proven you can deliver real results in the past.
It's like building a bridge as you walk on it. Your team is only going to take the next terrifying step over the chasm if the wooden plank you laid down yesterday actually held their weight.
Love that. Yeah.
It's not just about bragging rights, it's about structural proof. You can have a growth mindset and a participative style, but if you don't actually put points on the board and drive measurable change, eventually the team will stop trusting the system. Credibility accelerates buy-in.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Trust really is the ultimate currency in times of profound uncertainty. Without a track record of executing successfully, a participative style just looks like a friendly lack of direction.
Just a nice boss who doesn't know what they're doing.
Exactly. You have to prove that your human-centric approach actually yields operational success.
Okay, we've navigated all 7 dimensions of the digital leadership scale. Positive attitude, ethical use of AI, growth mindset, track record, transparent agenda, skills acquisition, and participative style. But, a scale is useless if it just sits in an academic journal.
Very true.
So what does this all mean for the person listening right now? How do they leverage this framework to level up their own career?
This is where the paper moves from theory to highly practical application. The researchers actually developed a 21-item web-based self-assessment tool. Leaders rate their own behaviors on a Likert scale, ranking themselves from strongly disagree to strongly agree.
But the value isn't in generating some arbitrary score to slap on your resume. The magic is in finding the gap.
Exactly that. It is designed entirely as a formative self-assessment. This isn't some punitive test you take so HR can decide whether to promote or fire you.
Right.
It's an introspective tool to measure the distance between your current behaviors and the desired behaviors, which would be scoring a 4 or a 5 on that scale.
It empowers you to take autonomous action to close your specific gaps. The paper points out that if your gap is in ethical AI, maybe your action step is reading up on algorithmic bias and data governance.
Yeah.
If your gap is skills acquisition, maybe you seek out a mentor who excels in team building. The researchers explicitly recommend leveraging micro-learning platforms, things like Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, or Udemy. It's about taking personal, daily responsibility for your own evolution as a leader.
And we really should note that the researchers are very clear about the current limitations of their work. Because the data set was so heavily focused on corporate hardware and software sectors in the US and Germany, they acknowledged the need for broader studies.
They need to see if this applies globally and in totally different environments.
Yes. Future research needs to expand into nonprofits and public sectors, which traditionally adopt digital technologies at a much slower pace.
That makes sense.
Furthermore, they emphasize the need for longitudinal studies. It would be incredibly valuable to track leaders over a 5 or 10-year period to unequivocally prove that those with higher DLS scores directly and consistently drive higher corporate profits over time.
That would be the ultimate validation of the track record dimension right there.
Yeah.
So to bring this all together for you listening, it does not matter if you are managing a scrappy startup team of 5 people or if you are directing a global division of 5,000.
No, the principles hold.
This research mathematically proves that successful digital transformation isn't about mastering the code. It relies on your positive attitude to anchor the team, your insistence on ethical AI to set the guardrails, your growth mindset to process failure, your track record to build trust, a transparent agenda to mitigate fear, your dedication to skills acquisition, and a deeply participative style to execute the vision. Technology is just the vehicle. Your humanity is the steering wheel.
It is a really profound reminder. As our technological tools become increasingly artificially intelligent, our leadership must compensate by becoming more authentically human.
And that leaves me with a final sort of lingering thought for you to ponder. We've spent this entire deep dive discussing how human leaders must step up to ethically manage and assess the integration of AI. We are the ones evaluating the algorithms.
For now, yeah.
Right. But as AI continues to rapidly evolve, as it learns to perfectly understand, predict, and analyze our behavioral patterns, how long will it be until an AI is the one administering this very scale? How long until an algorithm is the entity assessing our human-centric leadership traits and deciding if we are fit to lead?
Wow. Now, that is a truly disruptive thought.
Something to keep you up at night the next time you look at the cloud. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the human side of digital transformation. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep leading.